What is happening in Pennsylvania? Once considered a stable and steady housing market, protected from wild booms and sudden crashes, the Keystone State is now beginning to show real cracks. Home prices are falling, not only in small towns, but in major cities, growing suburbs, and even college communities across the state. From Philadelphia's struggling row homes to Erie's quiet lakefront streets, price drops are accelerating. Inventory is rising, buyer demand is fading, and in some regions, the bottom has not yet appeared. So what is driving this decline? It is a mix of economic uncertainty, high interest rates, investor retreat, and the slow unwinding of the pandemic-era housing surge. First-time buyers are locked out, remote workers have moved on, and landlords are beginning to sell, many of them quickly, before values fall further. In this video, we count down 10 Pennsylvania cities where home prices are collapsing in 2025. We will break down why it is happening, how deep the losses go, and what it means for buyers, sellers, and investors across the state. Subscribe to Discover the Nation for the truth behind the headlines, for real data that matters, and for housing insights you will not find anywhere else. Let's begin. Number 10. Bethlehem. Bethlehem was once the beating heart of America's industrial age, a city forged in steel and resilience. Its mills powered a century of progress, and for decades, stability defined its streets. Then came the rebirth: affordable homes, a revived downtown, and proximity to New York and Philadelphia brought a wave of newcomers who saw Bethlehem as the perfect balance of history and affordability. But in 2025, that balance is beginning to shift. Home prices have slipped between 8 and 10% since early 2024, and the correction shows no sign of slowing. Inventory is up more than 60% year over year, the highest jump since 2012. In older neighborhoods filled with historic row homes, listings are piling up. On the suburban edges, entire developments built during the pandemic boom are struggling to attract buyers. The once steady flow of city transplants from New York and Philadelphia has slowed dramatically. Mortgage rates above 6% have frozen local demand. Wages have not kept up with the inflated prices left behind from 2021's buying frenzy. And with property taxes and maintenance costs climbing, Bethlehem's affordability advantage is fading fast. Downtown still feels alive with restaurants, galleries, and a thriving arts scene. The shadow of Bethlehem Steel has transformed into a cultural landmark that draws visitors from across the state. Yet beyond that lively center, the mood changes. Homes sit unsold for months. Price cuts are routine. Even seasoned investors who once viewed Bethlehem as a reliable bet are pulling listings rather than accept losses. Bethlehem is not collapsing, but it is clearly cooling. The market that once thrived on suburban migration is recalibrating. The charm remains: the cobblestone streets, the holiday festivals, the echoes of its industrial past, but the confidence has softened. In 2025, Bethlehem stands at a crossroads, caught between the pride of its history and the pressure of a housing reality that no longer guarantees growth. Number 9. Lancaster. Lancaster has always been a city of contrasts, a place where old-world simplicity meets modern ambition. Its rolling farmland, historic markets, and walkable downtown once drew families and remote workers searching for authenticity and space. Between 2020 and 2022, Lancaster's housing market exploded as professionals fled larger cities. Home prices surged nearly 40% in just 2 years. But in 2025, that rural renaissance is unraveling. Home prices have fallen about 12% from their peak, and in some newer suburban developments, losses are closer to 15%. The sharpest pain is hitting recent buyers, young families, and remote workers who stretched budgets during the frenzy. Many now owe more on their mortgages than their homes are worth. The slowdown is widespread. Rental demand, once fierce, is fading. Vacancies are climbing, and landlords are offering free rent and incentives to hold tenants. Insurance costs are rising due to flood risks and aging infrastructure, cutting deeper into returns. Local employers, especially in manufacturing and healthcare, are not offering the wage growth needed to sustain pandemic-era prices. Even Lancaster's beloved downtown, filled with coffee shops, galleries, and boutique markets, is feeling the pinch. Foot traffic has slowed. Buyers who once saw Lancaster as a long-term retreat are now searching for cheaper, lower-tax areas farther inland. Sellers are reacting the only way they can, with discounts, waived inspections, and creative financing. But it is not enough. The buyer pool has thinned, and optimism has faded. Lancaster remains beautiful, its farmlands still golden under the sun, and its heritage still strong. Yet beneath that charm, the housing market is in retreat. The pandemic gold rush that transformed this quiet community into a remote work haven has ended, leaving behind a hard truth: what rises fast can fall even faster.
Number 8. Reading. Reading has lived many lives. It was once a railroad hub, a factory town, and later a low-cost refuge for commuters priced out of Philadelphia. But in 2025, the city faces a new challenge: a housing market under real strain. Home prices in Reading have fallen 14% from their 2022 highs, erasing most of the gains from the pandemic era. The sharpest declines are in neighborhoods filled with investor-owned homes. During the buying frenzy, investors snapped up entire blocks of row houses and rentals. Now, many of those same properties are flooding back onto the market at lower prices. Vacancies are rising, foreclosures are increasing, and demand from Philadelphia area commuters has slowed as hybrid work becomes the norm. The rental boom that once powered Reading's economy has weakened, leaving landlords struggling to fill units. Local incomes remain low compared to housing costs, and that gap is widening. Infrastructure problems are adding pressure. Aging roads, water systems, and years of underfunding are deepening the struggle. For many residents, the dream of stability feels further away. Downtown still shows life. Small businesses and community projects are pushing for revival. But beyond those few streets, the story shifts. For sale signs linger. Bank-owned listings are rising, and many owners who bought at the peak now find themselves underwater. Reading's strength was once its affordability, but that edge is slipping fast. Higher taxes, maintenance costs, and insurance bills have drained confidence. In 2025, Reading stands as a warning for mid-sized American cities. Rapid gains built on speculation can vanish overnight. The data reveals decline, but the real story is about resilience. A city fighting to stay standing in an economy that keeps changing.
Number 7. Scranton. Scranton once represented the perfect small city escape: affordable homes, quiet neighborhoods, and a manageable cost of living. During the remote work boom, it suddenly found itself on the map. Buyers from New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia poured in, drawn by the promise of big backyards and small-town calm. But in 2025, that moment has passed. The surge that lifted Scranton's housing market has vanished. Median home prices have dropped more than 13% since the peak, and some multifamily properties have fallen even further. Investors who flooded the city hoping to cash in on rental growth are now stuck. Their flips are sitting unsold, their rental units empty, and their optimism gone. Local job growth has stalled. Healthcare and education remain stable, but offer little wage growth. Manufacturing jobs, once a Scranton mainstay, continue to decline. With incomes lagging and mortgage rates high, local demand has dried up. Even longtime residents who might have traded up to larger homes are holding back, unsure of the economy's direction. The rental market isn't providing relief either. Vacancy rates have climbed, rental demand is flat, and population growth has effectively stopped. Scranton's young adults are leaving for bigger opportunities in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh, while retirees downsize quietly or move closer to family. Yet Scranton still has its charm. The tree-lined streets, the historic downtown, the old electric trolley heritage that once gave it character. But beneath the nostalgia lies a city confronting new realities. Homeowners are reducing prices, agents are scrambling to find buyers, and lenders are reporting a steady uptick in delinquencies.
Scranton may still carry the presidential spotlight as Joe Biden's hometown, but in 2025, its housing market tells a different story. The small city boom has ended, and what remains is a reminder that when outside demand dries up, even the most promising towns can fade from the spotlight just as quickly as they entered it.
Number 6. Erie. Erie is a city built around resilience, perched on the edge of Lake Erie, shaped by industry and bound by weather. For decades, it carried the story of quiet endurance. Affordable homes, lakefront views, and a working-class spirit made it one of Pennsylvania's best-kept secrets. But in 2025, that secret is out for a different reason. Erie is struggling through one of the deepest housing slumps in the state. Home prices have fallen nearly 16% since 2022. Lakefront properties that once symbolized affordable luxury have taken the hardest hit. What was once considered a safe investment has become a financial strain. Tourism, a lifeline for local businesses, has declined. Severe winters and rising utility costs are driving up monthly expenses. For many homeowners, maintaining an older home has become more expensive than the mortgage itself. The slowdown is visible everywhere. Open houses attract few visitors. For sale signs stay planted through multiple seasons. Sellers are slashing prices while buyers wait, hoping values drop further. Local investors who bought into the affordable lakeside dream are quietly exiting, leaving behind unsold homes and declining confidence. Insurance costs have surged due to increased weather risks along the lake. Flooding concerns, shoreline erosion, and heavy snowfalls have pushed premiums to record levels. Add in an aging population and limited job creation, and Erie's buyer pool is thinning fast. Yet the city remains visually stunning. The lake still gleams at sunset, the marinas still hum in summer, and Presque Isle still feels like a hidden gem. But beauty alone cannot revive a housing market that's out of balance. Erie's collapse isn't making national headlines, but its struggle tells a familiar American story, one of overlooked cities facing harsh economic headwinds without the resources of bigger metros. In 2025, Erie stands on the edge of transformation once again, uncertain if it can weather the storm this time.
Number 5. Allentown. Allentown was once the comeback story of eastern Pennsylvania, a city reborn from manufacturing decline into a logistics and housing powerhouse. Between 2020 and 2022, it became a top destination for pandemic movers, a place where families from New York and New Jersey could find space, value, and stability. But in 2025, that wave has reversed, leaving the market with more homes than buyers and more questions than confidence. Median home prices have fallen about 11% since their peak. Listings that once vanished in days now sit for months. Inventory across Lehigh County is up more than 40%. Suburbs like Emmaus and Macungie, once bustling with new construction, are flooded with unsold properties. The reason? The industries that fueled Allentown's growth are slowing. Logistics, warehousing, and distribution, once the region's economic engine, have been hit hard by national retail contraction. Job postings are down, hiring freezes are spreading, and wage growth has stalled. That's left thousands of workers hesitant to buy. Developers are also pulling back. New construction permits have dropped sharply, and builders are offering heavy incentives to clear existing stock. Some are even canceling future projects. Landlords are feeling the strain as rental demand softens. Many are cutting rents or selling altogether, worried that falling prices could trap them in negative equity. Still, Allentown retains its appeal. Walkable neighborhoods, proximity to major highways, and a strong commuter base. But sentiment has shifted. The city that once symbolized steady growth is now a case study in overextension. Downtown redevelopment projects continue, yet foot traffic has slowed. Retail vacancies are creeping up, and in the surrounding suburbs, sellers are realizing that buyers have the upper hand again. Allentown's story is not one of collapse, but correction, a necessary pause after years of rapid growth. The potential remains, but 2025 has forced the city to confront a simple truth. No market, no matter how fast it rises, is immune to gravity.
Number 4. York.
York was once one of Pennsylvania's hidden success stories. Nestled between Harrisburg and Baltimore, it offered affordability, charm, and room to grow. When buyers were priced out of larger metros during the pandemic, York's market surged. Homes sold in days, and investors saw it as the next big opportunity. But in 2025, that promise has soured. Home values are falling fast, down 15 to 18% across multiple zip codes. In neighborhoods that once saw bidding wars, price cuts have become routine. Listings linger for months, even on properties once considered entry-level. The out-of-state buyers who fueled York's boom have vanished, and local wages simply cannot sustain the prices left behind. The slowdown is visible everywhere. Builders have pulled back on new projects, open houses are quiet, sellers who once dreamed of quick profits are slashing prices, offering closing credits, and still struggling to attract offers. The gap between what sellers want and what buyers can afford has never been wider. York County was supposed to be a stable investment zone, close to major highways, with steady job growth and a strong sense of community. But in 2025, rising insurance premiums, local tax hikes, and growing crime concerns have shifted sentiment. Families who once saw York as a refuge are hesitating. Investors are liquidating, and many homeowners who bought in 2021 are now underwater. Downtown still has its charm: coffee shops, renovated warehouses, and a flicker of revitalization. But confidence is slipping. The city's mix of blue-collar roots and suburban sprawl has become a double-edged sword. Too expensive for locals, not promising enough for outsiders. York's correction is more than a market story. It's a reality check for smaller cities that grew too fast, too soon. The fundamentals are cracking, and in 2025, York stands as a warning that no safe market truly exists when the broader economy begins to slow.
Number 3. Harrisburg. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania's capital, was once viewed as recession-proof, a city anchored by government jobs and a steady middle-class base. For decades, it weathered downturns better than most, but in 2025, even Harrisburg isn't immune to the state's unfolding housing correction. Home prices are down nearly 13% since last year. East Harrisburg, Uptown, and even typically resilient areas like Camp Hill are seeing steep declines. Houses that once drew quick interest now sit for months. Inventory has climbed sharply, while buyer activity has slowed to a crawl. Government employment has softened the blow, but it can't offset the wider slowdown. Private sector job growth has stalled, particularly in logistics and small business sectors that expanded during the pandemic. First-time buyers are backing out, uncertain about rising insurance costs and property taxes. Even the luxury developments along the Susquehanna River, once symbols of revival, are now marked by empty units and developer incentives. Harrisburg's complex tax structure is also taking a toll. High property taxes, layered with city surcharges, have made homeownership less appealing compared to neighboring towns. Investors who once saw Harrisburg as a steady rental market are looking elsewhere. The result is a widening gap between price and value, with demand unable to meet supply. Yet, the city still carries potential. The riverfront remains beautiful. Its downtown has character, with restored brick buildings and a growing food scene. But sentiment has shifted. Realtors describe a cautious, hesitant buyer pool, one that's watching rates and waiting for the bottom. In 2025, Harrisburg finds itself in unfamiliar territory, a city built on stability now struggling to hold its footing. The correction may not be catastrophic, but it's redefining what safe means in Pennsylvania's housing market. The capital's shield has cracked, revealing that even the most government-backed economies can bend under the weight of modern costs.
Number 2. Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's story has always been one of reinvention, from steel empire to tech hub, from smoky mills to clean rivers and glass towers. For years, that transformation made the city one of the most resilient housing markets in the Rust Belt, But in 2025, the cracks are showing, and Pittsburgh's once steady climb is turning into a steep descent. Median home prices have fallen 17% from their pandemic highs. Neighborhoods like Bloomfield, Lawrenceville, and the South Side, once magnets for young professionals, are seeing listings linger for months. The tech sector, long a major driver of local demand, has slowed. Startups are downsizing, layoffs are rippling through major employers, and the flow of well-paid transplants has dried up. Landlords are feeling the sting. Multifamily properties that once offered dependable returns are now sitting vacant or selling at losses. Rent demand is cooling, and short-term rental restrictions have added uncertainty to an already fragile market. Downtown office vacancies remain high, leaving once busy blocks eerily quiet after dark. Policy changes around zoning and property use have made investors uneasy. The city's promise of growth and innovation has collided with economic reality. High insurance costs and rising property taxes have further strained homeowners, while population stagnation has kept new demand from forming. Still, Pittsburgh remains a city with unmatched character, its bridges glinting at sunrise, its neighborhoods layered with history. But in 2025, those visuals hide an uncomfortable truth. The housing boom that once fueled Pittsburgh's revival has reversed course. Confidence is fading, developers are pausing projects, and buyers are waiting for prices to fall even further. What was once seen as the Rust Belt's comeback city is now facing a cold reset. Pittsburgh will recover, it always does, but this time the rebound may take longer. The market has learned that innovation alone cannot protect against correction.
Number 1. Philadelphia. Philadelphia, one of America's oldest and most storied cities, now finds itself leading Pennsylvania's housing collapse. From the cobblestone charm of Old City to the brownstones of West Philly, the market is cracking under pressure. Home prices have fallen between 20 and 22% in parts of North and West Philadelphia. Even the city's strongest areas, Fishtown, Northern Liberties, and sections of Center City, are down 12 to 15%. The days of bidding wars and quick flips are gone. Crime perception and high property taxes are at the heart of the downturn. Combined with aging infrastructure and neglected public services, they've driven buyers toward the suburbs. Longtime owners are choosing to rent rather than sell at massive losses. Flippers, who once flooded the market, have retreated, leaving half-renovated homes and stalled projects scattered across neighborhoods. Short-term rental restrictions have hit hard too. Investors who relied on Airbnb income are now offloading properties at steep discounts. Developers are holding unsold inventory, and city permits are slow to process. Even the corporate relocations that once fueled downtown demand have quieted. Philadelphia's problems are layered, an affordability crisis colliding with a confidence crisis. Mortgage rates remain high, wages haven't caught up, and insurance premiums are eating into margins for everyone from first-time buyers to landlords. Yet the city still glows at night. Independence Hall, the bridges, and the skyline shimmer across the Delaware River. The heartbeat of history is still there, but beneath that glow lies fatigue. In 2025, Philadelphia stands as the epicenter of Pennsylvania's housing decline. It's not just about prices falling, it's about faith in the city's future. Until the city can tackle its core issues, safety, taxes, and infrastructure, recovery will remain out of reach. The birthplace of America's independence now faces a different kind of struggle, independence from a housing crisis of its own making.
So where does Pennsylvania go from here? From steel towns to riverfront suburbs, the signs are clear. This market isn't just cooling, it's collapsing in places no one expected. And whether you're a buyer, investor, or homeowner, knowing where it's falling fastest could save you thousands. Subscribe to Discover the Nation for powerful cinematic housing breakdowns across all 50 states. We'll guide you through every correction, every opportunity, and every danger zone before the headlines hit. The housing shift is here. Pennsylvania is just the beginning.